You know, what is it that makes a community truly work? It's a question we all think about, but the answers we get are often, well, they're all over the place and usually stuffed with jargon. So today, we're going to build a shared language, a completely new way to see the communities we live in, starting right from square one. So let's start with that big question. What truly makes a community healthy? It seems simple enough, right? But the answers are always so incredibly complicated. You've got scientists and the media both trying to tackle it, but they often get stuck in their own little bubbles. They're always looking at just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. And that, right there, is the heart of the problem. In the world of science, they call it compartmentalization. In media, well, it's just the daily news cycle. Every expert, every report, it zeroes in on one single issue, using all this specialized language that honestly puts the whole conversation behind a wall. It makes it nearly impossible for the rest of us to see the whole picture. Okay, so let's try to fix that. We're going to take a step back and focus on the one thing we all actually share. We all want to live in a healthy community. And to do that, we're going to build a simple, really intuitive framework from the ground up that anyone, and I mean anyone, can understand and use. Now, to get there, we first need to get a handle on how complexity even happens in the first place. And trust me, it's not nearly as scary as it sounds. Think of this next part as a little mini masterclass in how the world organizes itself, from a tiny single cell all the way up to an entire culture. The basic idea is, believe it or not, super simple. Complexity isn't about having a million messy, chaotic parts. It all starts at the most fundamental level, at that exact moment when two things that used to be exactly the same suddenly aren't. All right, let's dive into this because this moment, it actually has a name. It's called a symmetry break, and you can think of it as the engine that drives all of complexity. It's that simple act of drawing a line in the sand, creating a difference where there wasn't one before. And that one simple act is the foundation for, well, everything else. You can see exactly what I mean right here. On the left, everything's kinda one unified whole. But the second a symmetry break happens, a boundary pops up. And just like that, you look over on the right, and now you've got two different things. You have a this and a that. And here's where things get really interesting. See, this whole process doesn't just happen once and then stop. Once you've got these groups of different things, you can then sort those groups into new, even bigger categories. This is how you get layers of complexity, one building right on top of the other. So let's make this real. Let's see how this actually works, starting with the most basic and intuitive example there is, the boundary between you and, well, the rest of the world. That very first, super obvious boundary, it's your own skin. It's a physical wall that creates the first major symmetry break in our lives. It cleanly chops the world into two simple categories, all the stuff that's inside you and all the stuff that is outside you. So the process is pretty straightforward. First, there's just stuff. Then, boom, the boundary of your skin shows up. And the very instant it does, two totally different sets of jobs, or what we'll call task layers, are automatically created. And this creates two totally different kinds of focus, right? The first is an inward focus. All the tasks related to taking care of what's inside that boundary. Think healthcare, fitness, just staying alive. The second is an outward focus, interacting with the world, like building a house, finding food, or even teaching someone else a skill. And here is a really crucial point. This first boundary, our skin, it defines a layer we can actually see and count. We call it a population or a body count. But what about all the other boundaries that define our communities that we can't see? As we're about to discover, they're just as real and just as important. And that brings us to the next level of complexity. We're talking about the boundaries that aren't physical at all, but are just as powerful in shaping our lives and our societies, the lines that we draw for family and for culture. So just think about it for a second. What are the boundaries in your own life that you can't physically touch, but that define who you are and who you belong with? These invisible lines, they're absolutely everywhere. So this framework suggests there are two other fundamental symmetry breaks. First, you've got the gene pool edge, that gut feeling, that intuitive line we all draw between who's family and who isn't. And second, there's the idea pool edge, the boundary that separates our culture from another culture. This table really lays it all out pretty clearly. You've got that one visible boundary, your skin, that defines the self versus the world. And then right below that, you have two incredibly powerful, invisible boundaries, the one that defines family and the one that defines culture. And there it is. That's the complete model. Just three fundamental boundaries: skin, family, and culture. And each one creates its own inward-looking and outward-looking tasks. And that gives us 6 totally distinct layers of activity that together define any human community. But, and this is a really important but from the source material, we need to be careful. These boundaries are natural and they're important. We have a deep respect for our family ties and our cultural identity. But if we overemphasize them, we can run into really serious problems. Think about things like nepotism, where we unfairly favor family, or cultural bias, where we shut out anyone who's different. Okay, so we have this new 6-layer model. It's a neat idea, but what do we actually do with it? Well, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a practical lens, a tool we can use to get a much, much clearer picture of what's really going on in our society. Just think about how we could use this. When we analyze something like a natural disaster or a new public policy, what do we usually do? We count the cost, we count the casualties, that's all in that first layer. But with this lens, we can start asking way deeper questions. How were family bonds affected? That's layer 2. What was the impact on cultural traditions and shared beliefs? That's layer 3. All of a sudden, you get a complete 6-layer view of the real impact. We can even use this to rethink huge concepts like freedom. I mean, is freedom just about what you can do as an individual, that first inward-looking layer? Or is a truly free society one that gives people rich, diverse options across all 6 of these layers? The freedom to be healthy, to build a strong family, and to be part of a vibrant culture. This framework suggests that, yeah, you need all 6. And you can apply this lens practically everywhere. You can get a better handle on the full community role of our public defender system, which touches on individual rights, family stability, and cultural fairness. Or you can see how a program like AmeriCorps impacts way more than just the individual volunteer. It's an incredible tool for thinking in a more connected way. So we'll end with this thought, this framework. It gives us a map of the boundaries that define us, that shape our lives. It helps us see ourselves, our families, and our cultures with a new kind of clarity. And so the final question really is a challenge for all of us. Now that we can see these walls so clearly, what's it going to take to build the bridges?